4 years ago, I was basically unemployed. A wanderer with no home. But now, I'm a husband and a father. And I wouldn't have it any other way. I don't know how you did it, Pops. My job was a little less stressful than yours.
This week on Talking About the Movies, it's the end of an era as the DC Extended Universe comes to an end on kind of a whimper. You'll hear what I mean when I talk about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. Plus,
here we go! Tail feather torsion!
Check!
Wing deployment!
Check!
Let's fly.
We'll head south for the winter as we take a look at Illumination's second film of the year following the Super Mario Bros. Movie, Migration. It's a holiday double feature this week on Talking About the Movies. And Merry Christmas Eve, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Talking About the Movies, where, of course, we talk about the biggest new releases of the weekend. And this weekend is no exception, because we've got two big new movies coming out this week that we have to talk about. And, I got to see both of them yesterday. It's Christmas Eve, so that's why I'm decked out in my Christmas attire. I got my Steeler hat on. I got my Friends t-shirt on with all the holiday icons on there, so I'm ready to go. So why don't we just not waste any more time? Let's get right to it, and we'll start off with the biggest of the two new releases coming out this weekend, and that is, of course, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is the second film of the Aquaman series, and more importantly, the last film of the DC Extended Universe. We'll get into that in just a second here, but the story here is that you have Arthur Curry, once again played by Jason Momoa. He has to work with his half-brother Orm from the last movie, played by Patrick Wilson, to prevent Black Manta from the last movie, played by Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, from killing his family and using the cursed Black Trident to overheat the world while searching for the lost seventh kingdom of the seas. Now, I've kind of pretty much gone through the DC Extended Universe in the last couple of years doing these reviews, so if you haven't seen any of those, I'll just kind of run through them pretty quickly. Thought Man of Steel was okay. Did not like Batman v Superman. I thought that it's this generation's Phantom Menace. Suicide Squad, the first one by David Ayer, Wonder Woman, really enjoyed. I think I can agree with everybody that Wonder Woman was actually one of the first real signs that there was some life to the DCEU at this point. I like Joss Whedon's Justice League. I know a lot of people don't, but I would still rather watch that than ever put on the Zack Snyder version. That's just my personal opinion. But the first Aquaman was a big surprise. I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed that one. Shazam, really fun movie. I thought that was a ton of fun. Birds of Prey, I thought was a really good film that got kind of screwed over by the COVID pandemic. Wonder Woman 1984. I can't really say it's a bad movie like everybody else does, but it does have its flaws that kind of make me say that it's a lesser film compared to the first movie, but I still enjoyed it for what it was. Let's see, what's the next one? I think the next one's the Suicide Squad, the James Gunn one. Really great film. Again, kind of got screwed over by the COVID pandemic, so unfortunately did not do well at the box office, but it has gone on to have a life, and it has become what the Suicide Squad has become known for. It's spun off Peacemaker, which is a great show on HBO Max, and I enjoyed that a lot. Black Adam, thought it was just a mixed bag. I don't think it was anything too significant. I think Dwayne Johnson, as good of a job he does in that movie, I think he tried way too hard to make that the new centerpiece of the DCEU before he even realized that they were already thinking about starting over again, not with him. Shazam! Fury of the Gods was a very good film. I thought it was surprisingly really good, and I thought it was just as good as the first film. It does have its flaws to it overall, but I still really enjoyed that one a lot. The Flash, still the worst movie I saw this year. It's still the worst film I saw in 2023, so kind of spoilers for my worst of the year list. And the last one, Blue Beetle, which was really good. It was a very underrated film that I don't think got the proper attention it deserved, but then again, I don't think Warner Brothers did that great of a job of promoting that movie, knowing that they were going to rehaul the whole thing, which is kind of what I think happened with this movie here. Because before this movie came out, you were hearing all these things behind the scenes, the controversies behind the scenes, the way they were making the way the film had to be reshot several times. You had the controversy with Amber Heard following the Johnny Depp trial. There was just a lot of things that were going against this movie in the long run, and so I finally see the movie, and it's fine. I mean, really, there's not much more I can say about it. Is that it's fine. It's not a bad movie, but it isn't a great movie either. I mean, it doesn't have that same spark that I thought was in the first Aquaman movie, which made me really enjoy that one. That was one of those big surprises in there. But, I mean, this movie, it's just really the most mid-superhero movie you will ever see. It's a film that's just kind of like, it's there. It fulfills a quota that it needs to fill. It doesn't do anything to elevate itself to another level or make it one of those superhero movies that stands out among the pack. But it's not bad. It's just not. It's not a bad movie. It's just a film that's just kind of like, it's there. It's not there to do anything too significant, and it's basically there to just give this thing the ending that it kind of needs, so we can go on and move on to the next generation of the DC movie universes that we're building with James Gunn and Peter Safran. But again, it's just not really all that special. But there are a couple things to keep in mind with this movie. One is the fact that this was being made a lot during COVID. I mean, they had to change a lot of things around. This thing was in development hell. Seemed like it was in development hell for a number of years. I think this thing was supposed to come out in 2020, actually, late 2020, before the pandemic happened. And the movie kept moving around on release dates. I think it actually got moved back a full year at one point to where it is right now. And you have all these things going on behind the scenes, and of course that means the movie is going to struggle to really keep itself together when it matters the most. But again, it's like, it really could have been a whole lot worse than it could have been. I think the biggest problem I have with the movie is that, like I said before, it doesn't really do anything to elevate any of these characters whatsoever. Like, the whole thing was supposed to be about world building, like expanding on the universe that Aquaman has that they're setting up in this movie, and we don't really get that in this movie. There really isn't that point where there really is a sense that there needed to be another movie made about these characters, because there really isn't a thing about expanding the universe or expanding what the world is. Everything's kind of like the same as it was before. Like, you have the return of Orm, but like I said, you have the return of Black Manta, you have a return of a lot of the main characters from the last movie. There's no real sacrifices in the movie either, except that, Arthur Curry's a father now, and his son gets kidnapped by the main villain. And even then, that really doesn't amount to anything. Nobody really dies in this movie of significance. Nobody really has that arc that they need to go is before they become the true person that they really are. It just really doesn't feel like there's a lot there to keep the audience invested in the movie. And I think that's the biggest problem with the movie here, is that you've got the pieces there. I mean, Jason Momoa still works very well as Aquaman. I like the energy that he brings to the role. I like Patrick Wilson in here. I think he plays a very good side character to Arthur Curry, and I think he does a very good job playing the half-brother. I like Black Manta in here. I like Yahya Abdul-Mateen II. I think he's a phenomenal actor, but he's not really doing anything that different compared to the other movie, except that he's got this black trident now that he can possess him and make him more of a threat. But even then, it never feels like he's really that big of a threat compared to what he was in the last movie. No, like, he's supposed to be the main villain in the film, and he really doesn't add anything new or energy to that overall. And I mean, you got Nicole Kidman back. Dolph Lundgren is back in here as well, who plays Aquaman's parents in here, the king of Zebulon, the queen of Atlantis. Arthur's father on the shore, Tamara Morrison's back in here as well. They add new characters too. Randall Park, who was in the MCU, and also on Fresh Off the Boat, is also in here playing kind of a sidekick to the villain. For some weird reason, Martin Short is cast as this crime boss named Kingfish. He's like the ruler of the pirate haven called the Sunken Citadel. Once you hear Martin Short, like, you know it's Martin Short, and I feel like it's just not the type of casting that I think would fit in that role that he's trying to put in here. Like, I feel like it's a role that just put him in there because, hey, it's Martin Short. He's a well-known name. We can put him in here, even if his performance really doesn't match up to what he brings to the table here. And, you know, for a movie that's just a little over 2 hours long, it felt really long. Like, it felt like a film that was just really struggling to keep itself together and really give people something that would make them want to see more of this character. It feels like the movie itself, the series itself, was just chugging along, trying to get to the end so we can end this nightmare already. It felt like the movie was drained. Like, they really did not have anything else to bring to the table here that hasn't already been seen already. And to me, I think that's really where the film really struggles big time, because yeah, like a movie like this, where you have a character that is cool to watch, and you want to see more of him, and it just really doesn't amount to anything in the end. By the time I got out of there, it was just kind of like, okay, you accomplished your mission. Now you can get out of the way, and let's see what James Gunn and Peter Safran bring to the table when they start their universe up again. I would like to see Jason Momoa come back as Aquaman. I don't think that's going to happen, but really, what did we really get from the DCEU that the MCU that Marvel did do already? Like, one of my biggest flaws with the DCEU coming into it was the fact that they were basically coming in and saying that we're going to take half the time that Disney and Marvel did to actually put together a cinematic universe, and we're going to and it's going to work. It's going to work. We believe it's going to work. But I mean, not really. Like, it wasn't a complete disaster overall. I guess there were little bits and pieces of promise there that you see as the movies were going along. It's just kind of like, okay, I can see where you're coming from here, but you're not really selling me on the whole thing altogether. Like, yeah, you would have really great casting. Ben Affleck as Batman, Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman, Jason Momoa as Aquaman, Zachary Levi as Shazam. But then you would get those little things that are just kind of like Jesse Eisenberg as Jar Jar Lex Luthor, Henry Cavill as this wooden plank of a Superman. Just the toilet humor and the really lack of trying to appeal to anybody but kids. Like, these movies never feel like they really deliver the true potential of what these movies could really do. Like I said before, Disney and Marvel took their time. They built everything slowly but surely. Everything was kind of slow. They were waiting to see how it pans out, how people would respond to this before they would eventually go on to do what they did. I mean, think about how it was 4 years from that moment that Nick Fury told Tony Stark, I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. And then 4 years later, we get that great movie that was the Avengers. And that's really, for the longest time, Marvel was on a roll until as of late. But with DC, it was just like, well, we could do the same thing, but we'll cut it in half the time with half the effort put into it. And I think what's going on now with the DC movie studio now, with James Gunn and Peter Safran coming in, they're taking their time. They're actually building this for a while now. So we now finally will get to see what a DC movie universe run similarly to what Marvel has been doing can look like. And I'm really excited to see where they go with there. I'd like to see characters that were from the DCEU come into this new series. Like I said before, I would like to see Shazam come back. I think that Zachary Levi makes that character work for the most part, and I like seeing that family is in the family as well. I hope they come back in this next incarnation of this, and also the Blue Beetle people. I'd like to see Blue Beetle come back as well. I'd like to see Jason Momoa come back as Aquaman, but we just have to wait to see how that works out in their plans here. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do with that. But as far as this movie goes, it's not bad, but it certainly doesn't feel like a grand finale to this whole thing that had been setting up for so long, and it didn't really. It just feels like they just ran out of ideas and just kind of were forced to put this out there because it was just like, hey, we're kind of getting ready to start anew again, so just do whatever just go by the books, and then we'll go from there. And it's just kind of like, yeah, it's just like, it really is. I really should not have been coming out of this just feeling like, okay, you did what you needed to do, so move on. But that unfortunately just is the way it is with this series right now. I mean, I feel like there should have been so much more to this, but it just really wasn't there for me. So it's a very mixed opinion on my part here. So I don't really hate it, but I don't really love it either. So you know what? I'll give it a mixed review, a mixed down the middle. More is because I really do not know how to feel about this one. I feel like it's just kind of like, yeah, I mean, you did what you had to do, but we kind of expected a lot more from you, and we really did expect a lot more from this. For the way you were setting this up, your plans on making this in half the time that Marvel did it, but it just didn't work out in the end. But like I said, I'm really excited to see what James Gunn brings to the table here with this new universe. I mean, the first thing is going to be a new Superman movie, and I would really like to see what this new Superman world is going to be like, especially if it's going to be in the same style of the classic Christopher Reeve Superman movies. That's what has me really excited about that. But once again, we just have to wait and see what happens there. So, like I said, not a bad movie, but you definitely expect a lot more considering what the first Aquaman movie did. But the DCU basically goes out on kind of a whimper, honestly. So yeah, that's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. So let's go ahead and move on to the second film I looked at this weekend, and that is Illumination's new film, Migration. So Migration is the latest film from Illumination, who's having a pretty good year coming off of the Super Mario Brothers movie. And this is the film that really looked promising right from the get-go. You basically have a story here where you have a family of mallard ducks who are trying to convince their overprotective father to go on a vacation of a lifetime and attempt to migrate from New England, and they want to go to Jamaica, but they keep going the wrong way. They keep getting caught up in these different places. They get stuck in New York City for a little bit. They get stuck in various other places as well, coming across a lot of colorful characters overall. You have the father played by Kumail Nanjiani, and the mother's played by Elizabeth Banks. They have an uncle named Dan, voiced by Danny DeVito. You also have Awkwafina, Keegan-Michael Key, Carol Kane's also in the movie too. So there was a lot of good talent overall in this movie, but not just in front of the camera, but also behind the camera too, because you have the director of this, Benjamin Renner, who made the very underrated animated feature Ernest and Celestine, I think it is. Yeah, Ernest and Celestine from 2012, which was a really nice looking animated feature. He also did Yellowbird and the Big Blue Fox and Other Tales. But also you have Mike White, who's now very well known for his work on The White Lotus, but he also was in School of Rock. He's written a ton of other things. So you've got two really good talents as the director and the writer on here. And the movie ends up resulting in a very fun movie. This is actually probably one of my favorite Illumination movies now. Even though it doesn't really do a whole lot, it's the one that I came out of there going, I had a really good time with it. Like, I really was very happy with what I saw with the end result here. So many Illumination movies. I've kind of talked about it already in other reviews, so I won't really delve into my thoughts on the overall ones here. But the ones I really like from Illumination, The Secret Life of Pets, I thought was really good. I like the Dr. Seuss Grinch one that came out a couple years ago. The Sing movies are surprisingly really good. I'm trying to see if there's any other ones I'm missing here. No, because like Despicable Me, I don't hate them honestly. I think they're just okay for what they were. Although I did like that short they played at the beginning of this movie called I think it was Vex, where you have the villain from the first movie, Jason Segel's character returning, and it's basically kind of a Wile E. Coyote Roadrunner type of comedy with some pretty good animation and some really fun effects that they use, especially towards the end of it. I think that really plays very well to the overall enjoyment of the film in general. The movie itself really is not a great one story-wise. It's kind of a routine story. You have a family that's basically trying to, like I said, trying to get to Jamaica, and there's not really a whole lot of big stories there. They have to come across a lot of obstacles. Like they come across this villain, a chef who I could have sworn, this might be me just thinking about this because I've seen the video about him online, but I think he's like a caricature of Salt Bae, that guy who's like always like his restaurants are always getting criticized for like high prices and overcharging people for stuff that they had, and he's always causing trouble. I think that's what they were going for here, but then again, I could be wrong on that. But yeah, like they come across all these different characters. You have kind of like this tough mouth New York City pigeon played by Awkwafina, who's named Chump, which I thought was pretty well done. That's actually probably the best I've seen from Awkwafina. I think she really fit that role very well. You have this Jamaican Scarlet Macaw played by Keegan-Michael Key, who I swear I thought was I thought he was trying to channel Sebastian from The Little Mermaid. It's hard for me to not think that when even his design kind of has a little bit of a Sebastian type of vibe to it. Even though Sebastian's a crab, you can see a little bit in there here and there. I'm kind of overthinking a lot of stuff here, because even the family dynamic here, I feel like when I look at this, I kind of get that feeling of the Belchers from Bob's Burgers. Like I feel like there's a lot of those elements you can bring into the table with there. I think is when you look at the father in here, you can see a little bit of Bob in there. The mother duck. I think I see a lot of Linda. I've watched Bob's Burgers so many times. How the hell do I not know that? But I see a little bit of Linda in the mom. I see a lot of the kids in just the two kids. I think the son here, it kind of reminds me a little bit, not a whole lot, of Jean. And then the girl, the little girl, kind of reminds me of kind of a mix between Louise and Tina a little bit. Like maybe that's just me overthinking it, but that's what I kind of saw from it. But the animation overall is very good. It's a really solid animation job, especially for a guy that is mostly known for directing traditional animated films and is being brought into adapting that simple style that he brought to something like Ernest and Celestine and bringing it into a computer animated film. It's just going to show you how much Illumination is evolving in the last couple of years, because for the longest time, they were that company that I was just kind of like, they're there, but they've never really done anything too spectacular or too grand overall. But this in the Super Mario Brothers movie is really showing their abilities now as a studio and how animation is evolving with them. And I think they're doing a really good job of handling that. Even the score by John Powell is very good. Like, the whole movie is about these mallards just trying to migrate, and he goes hard on some of these score compositions he has that hear so much. And it's just like, you didn't have to do that, but I appreciate that you did that. And it's just like, but if there's any real flaw to the movie overall, I would probably say that it is the fact that the story really isn't all that deep or engaging overall. It's kind of a simple story, honestly, but in a way, but at the same time, it's me kind of just nitpicking on it because I like a lot of everything else I see here. I think the voice casting overall is top notch. I like the chemistry between Nanjiani and Banks. I like Danny DeVito playing the uncle in here. Carol Kane has a fun little role here for playing these. She's playing like a blue heron that they end up meeting on the journey. It's just great to hear Carol Kane again. Feels like it's been a long time since I've heard her in anything new, but that was really great to see her in there again. And again, just the visual style in here is just really top-notch stuff. I mean, there is a lot to admire about this movie. I like that the film does not have to do too much to get it to entertain you. Like, I think it does more than enough to just say, hey, here's a simple story, here's some characters we think you'll really like, here's some great animation overall, and the results speak for themselves. I think they do a very good job of handling that. I think they do a phenomenal job of making you invested in this storyline, and you really do like this character and these characters and the family dynamic they have going on for them. I like that there really isn't anything big cliches. There is kind of a little bit, not a lot of a kind of a third act breakup or a misunderstanding. Though cliches that could really ruin the mode, because it's going to take like 10 minutes of the runtime here, but they get through it pretty quickly. I mean, everything kind of happens pretty quickly, and when you realize the film is over, it's just like, wow, I did not think I was going to be out of there that quickly. Because, like, I think this movie started around, I want to say maybe 4:15 after previews from when I saw it. And I got out of the theater around 5:45, so it really did not feel like I was in there for an hour and a half. But apparently so. Like, I mean, that's just really what knows that the movie is working, because you you really want to see more of this, and it's just like, well, we're done here, goodbye. It's just like compare that to Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which was over 2 hours long, but it felt like it was dragging on, like it was trying its hardest to try to keep itself going. But this just feels like, okay, we know what we want to do, we know what to do to entertain you, so here you go, and then and throw your drinks, throw your trash out of here. Thanks for coming. Hope to see you again soon. I mean, that's what it kind of felt like to me with this movie, and I say that in a bad way, but it actually works in the film's favor, because I think it does. I think it does work to have that sort of a running time, really, to like give you what you need and then get on out of there. I think this movie works because of that. I think it works because of a number of other reasons as well. You know, a good script, some good direction, some great animation, great voice casting, great comedy overall here. I think the comedy in this works pretty well here. There's not really a lot of laugh-out-loud moments, but some pretty good chuckles all the way through. It's a nice comfort food animated film. I think it's a film that works on a number of different levels. It's not going to be something I would say that this is one of the best animated films I've ever seen, but it is a movie that I think works just as well on its own merit. I think it does more than enough to satisfy the audience, and even even for kids, outside of kids, I think adults can really get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And it just works very well. I think it's a very solid, very entertaining film. I highly recommend checking it out. It's definitely worth a watch. I give it a thumbs up. I think it's a good, solid thumbs up. You take your kid to this on a Saturday afternoon, or even on Christmas Day if you want to, and they would have a good time with it. You would have a good time with it as well. I think the film delivers everything it promises. It really is a nice comfort food film. I think it's one that I really am going to really appreciate more and more as time goes on. But right now, I feel like it's a very enjoyable film. It's well worth it. I highly recommend checking it out. It's definitely worth a watch. So definitely check out Migration. So, yeah. With that said, that's going to wrap this episode of talking about the movies. I almost said time about the movies again. Next week, we'll talk about The Color Purple, the new version that comes out tomorrow. I might try to see another movie, too. I just haven't figured out which one that's going to be yet. But that'll be the last episode for the year. And then the week after that, we'll have our best of the year, and best movies of the year, and the worst movies of the year shows coming up after that. So yeah, that's all we have for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and once again, I hope you all have a happy holiday, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, whatever you're celebrating. I hope it's the merriest, and the happiest. And thank you guys so much for watching. And if you like what you see, hit the like and subscribe button. Check out some other videos we've done, and I'll see you guys next time for the next episode. So thanks for watching. Happy holidays. I'll see you next time. Take care.